Heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. Then he says, I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the earth is going to be turned into a paradise, and man will live in eternal blessings. Now this is the purpose of the Almighty God. This will be his system, which we are not, which is not ruling today. Today, it is the devil's organization, and we feel the effects of it. Now, the way this blessing is coming about is through the restoration of Israel, the restoration of his nation. Israel becomes his kingdom. Israel was and always shall be his people. And the Israel of the flesh is not the Israel of God. I mean, these are not the only ones. The word Israel means he who strives for God's blessing, and anyone of any nationality who does strive for his blessing, who has the characteristics of a true Israelite, does become Israel. He says that those who are not my people become my people, speaking of the Gentiles, and Israel shall be as the sands of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. Paul says blindness in part has fallen upon Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in, and then all Israel shall be saved, indicating that the Gentiles would be included in Israel. Now, Isaiah 14 brings out the restoration of Israel. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel, or again choose Israel, and set them in their own land. Now, this particular verse has caused many would-be interpreters to become confused. They reason that when Israel is restored, that they will have the original territory that they had once. But in the original promise given to Israel, he did say he would set them in their own land, give them a certain land, but they would spread out to the north and the south and the east and the west. So there was actually no specific portion of ground. They would continue to spread out. So we find that the truth of the matter is that Israel will possess the entire planet, because he says Israel is my inheritance. Now, when he says that he will set them in their own land, he means that his people will feel at home. They will dwell in a system where they will feel comfortable and at home. They will find that they are living in a system which is in harmony with the attributes that Yahweh has created man with. He has created man in love and justice and wisdom and power, and the ruling organization will rule with these attributes going to the fore. In other words, it will be led by these attributes. The kingdom will actually be governed in love and justice and wisdom, backed by the almighty power of Yahweh. So this is the land that he sets them in. He sets them in a system where they will feel at home. He says, at that time will the righteous flourish. Now, when he restores Israel, he says, and the strangers shall be joined with them, or aliens shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now, these are people who are not Israel. These are people who did not manifest their faith when there wasn't much evidence. Yahweh says to doubting Thomas, when he didn't believe that the Messiah had been resurrected, he actually had to show him the imprints on the nails and on the feet, and he believed. He says, you believe because you saw, blessed are those who believe without seeing. So he was referring to a specific class of people who would have the faith to believe without having everything fulfilled before them. They would believe what Yahweh has to say and put their trust in him and be willing to suffer for the understanding. So these are the ones that are blessed, and these are the ones that are true Israel. Now, these strangers have to have a lot of evidence. And strangers or aliens, meaning that they are outsiders. They're not part of Israel. These will be joined to them when they are convinced. Now, the time that they are convinced will be during this 5-month period when they realize that the nations are going to destroy themselves, and finally they say, well, we see that God is really with you. We want to join you, and they will flock over to us. Israel will be given the authority over the kingdom because they were, Yahweh could trust them when there was no evidence. He could trust them when the going was really rough. So it'll be a simple matter to trust them when everything is going smoothly. The others will receive their instruction from Israel. Israel will work to bless the strangers, and the strangers will work to bless Israel. And both sides will be delighted in their position. They would not change for the world. The strangers will love Israel because Israel will be a loving people, a people who rules with concern, not just using people like the rulers today. And the strangers will love Israel for this. So it says strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, indicating that they will latch on to it firmly, not wanting to ever let go, because they will find that this is truly a blessed system, a godly system, the only system that could bring peace and happiness to mankind. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. Now, Israel is to be ruler. Israel is his inheritance. Israel is not a ruler until it has someone to rule over. Israel will rule over the stranger class. Before the strangers come in, there will be no one for Israel to rule over, so Israel will not truly be a ruler. But when the stranger class becomes submissive to Israel, they put Israel in their position. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, or the strangers shall take Israel and put them in their position. How do they do this? By becoming submissive to Israel. Rule over us, for we see that God is with you. And when they do this, then Israel has their place or has their position. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, meaning that they will take instruction from Israel and do the bidding of Israel. In other words, these stranger class are going to do all the secular work, while Israel is going to be busily engaged in ruling and seeing that everything is done properly. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Before the stranger class wakes up, they are members of this world, and they are persecuting Israel. They do not understand Israel, so they go by the laws of the land, and they treat Israel as lawbreakers, as criminals, as those worthy of punishment. And because they far outnumber Israel, they have the dominating force on their side, and Israel, in a sense, is captive to them because of the supremacy of power in their favor. When they become submissive to Israel, they become captives whose captives we were. The tide just turns. Everything turns topsy-turvy. And they shall rule over their oppressors. The ones who want to oppress them will be ruled over by Israel. All right? And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, when the day comes that Yahweh gives Israel true rest from the sorrow. Now, Israel is not at rest now. Israel is busily engaged, vindicating Yahweh's name, meeting opposition with the world, with the nations of this world, and the opposition is going to increase. So we know that the 1260 days, the two witnesses are going to preach clothed in sackcloth, indicating that they will be persecuted, they will be in misery. And this is the sorrow that Israel is undergoing. And from the fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, Israel today, even working in this system, is working far too hard. They do not get the full benefit of their labor. So much of it goes to the rulers, so much goes for taxes, so much goes for parasites, political, religious, and everything else, so that the working man for war and everything, so that the working man does not get the full benefit of his labor. The time comes when it's all over and Israel has rest. And when this time comes, there'll be a decided change. All of a sudden we will look around to the oppression. It's all over. There's no more there. You look for the former fears, for the former pain, and every bit of apprehension that was within your heart, it's all gone. And you'll begin to notice what a drastic change has taken place. So Israel will say, Yahweh tells Israel that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased. The king of Babylon is Satan the devil. Satan the devil is the true king of Babylon, because the Yahweh calls this entire world Babylon, and it is the devil who is the god of this world. So when the world goes down, we will take this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The oppressor being Satan the devil. The golden city ceased. The golden city is the organization of the devil, Babylon, which they would have you believe is a precious, holy organization, a Christian organization, a godly organization. But Yahweh tells us very plainly that it is a blasphemous organization, a harlot, a wicked and disobedient organization. And this is why Yahweh says that it comes to an end. Now, if it was truly the organization, the godly organization that they claim it is, there would be no reason to bring an end to it. It would endure forever. But it has to end because it is wicked. It is actually going against the dictates of Yahweh. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He likens the wicked to holding a staff and beating their subjects. He has broken this staff and the scepter, or the right to rule of the rulers. In other words, he has taken whatever authority they had away from them, whatever authority they gained for themselves. This only takes place at the end of the world, when the nations are destroyed and there are no longer any rulers to oppress his people. Now, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, referring to the devil, and what he's referring to here, a continual stroke, meaning that they suffered continuously as though they were being beaten continuously without let up. This means that the agony in this world continues all the time. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. All right, the one who ruled the nations in anger is Satan the devil, and the reason he brings out that he ruled them in anger is because he caused the people to suffer as though he had a grudge against them. If he really loved his people, he would not allow them to suffer. He would see that they were blessed. But the way people suffer, it appears that the devil is actually angry at them and punishing them all the time. All right, now this beautiful verse here, he says, at this time the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Now this is referring to the whole earth. This is the land that Israel is set upon. Set them in their own land. What is their own land? The whole earth is at rest when Israel is restored, indicating that Israel will inherit the whole earth. The meek shall inherit the earth, Joshua brings out. Now, when everything is at peace and all your problems are gone and there is no agony for you to face whatsoever, nothing but joy and blessings, automatically the whole human race will break into singing. Now, this is just a natural emotion. They will be so full of joy that they'll have to come out. And Yahweh says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now, if you're just so happy, you will break forth into song. Now he says, yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller has come up against us. Now here he uses symbols. He's referring to the fir trees and the cedars of Lebanon. Now the fir trees are tall, upright trees. So he's using these as symbols of the righteous ones. the righteous ones say that since he is laid low, no one comes to chop them down. In other words, the devil is cut down and no one is persecuting them anymore. Now, in verse 9, he says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee. Now, he's referring to the devil going down into hell, which is a place of the dead. And he pictures it as though the dead were able to stir or awaken and watch him coming down to join them. Even all the chief ones of the earth, it hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All right, now who are these that are in hell? The chief ones of the earth. These are the ones that the world looks up to. These are your rulers, your politicians, your kings, your dictators, your big businessmen, your religious leaders. These are the chief ones of the earth. Where are they? In hell. And the devil is going down there to join them. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All right? Indicating that they were down in hell. They get up and they see the devil coming down to join them. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? In other words, did the same thing happen to you that happened to us? Did you also die? Was it possible that one so mighty was able to die too? It refers to this as though it was a surprise to them because one so mighty possibly could never have anything like this happen to him. But the devil is definitely going to be destroyed along with all wicked ones. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. All right, now his pomp or his celebrations, his patriotic music and all of his claims that he used to, his propaganda that he used to control the people to the earth, and his noise of his viols or his musical instruments to incite patriotism and keep people under control, all go down to the grave. Everything dies. Everything is done away with once and for all. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. All right, now this is an indication of absolute death, and this is what happens to a person who dies, and this is what's going to happen to the devil. In other words, there's no hereafter for him or anything. He's going to die and be destroyed. Now, the one who it's speaking about is mentioned in verse 12, when Yahweh says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? So he asked the question concerning Lucifer. Now, Lucifer was the one that Yahweh put in charge over Eden. And he is the one that turns out to be the devil. He's the one that disobeyed and caused man to disobey. Which didst weaken the nations. In other words, he's the one that caused the nations to sin and meet with Yahweh's disapproval and brings about the destruction of the nations of this world. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Now this is what he said. He has said in his heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. Now the stars are symbolize the angels. Yahshua is pictured as being the bright and morning star. So the devil being elevated above the stars means that he would have a position above the angels, and this is what he craved. He wanted to be above everyone. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation, or at the head of the congregation, in the sides of the north, or the seat of authority. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Now, this was his desire, to be like the Most High. He wasn't taking instructions from anyone. He wasn't going to give orders that someone gave to him. He was going to issue orders. He was going to be the Supreme One. And anyone who tries anything like this is going to definitely meet with the disapproval of the Supreme One, because no one is qualified to match Yahweh, regardless how long he's been alive, even for thousands of years. Yahweh is from everlasting to everlasting. Yahweh is the Supreme One. Yahweh is the only Creator. Yahweh is the only being. All others are creatures. They have been created. So you cannot, no one can claim to be equal to Yahweh. But the devil figured he could. Now he says in verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. In other words, he wanted to get the highest position. He's going to get the lowest position. Incidentally, the word hell is Sheol or Hades, the grave where you're going to die, where people go when they die. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? In other words, is he the one that caused all the trouble? Yes, it is. It is the devil who, through his disobedience, caused all mankind to disobey, and man has followed a course of disobedience and has not been blessed with the true guidance of the wisdom of Yahweh, and has been led astray, and has brought upon himself problems which he could not solve. And this will be proven very shortly when mankind, all wicked mankind, will turn on one another and destroy each other. Now he continues in asking this question. He says, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. Is this the one that made the world as a wilderness? Well, a wilderness is a place where there is no security, no food, no shelter, no nothing, no creatures, no humans around, you might say, where you're left alone and abandoned. The whole world is that way. Actually, it's every man for himself, regardless where you are, even in the cities. He destroyed the cities thereof. At Armageddon, the cities will truly go down. He's the one that brought this all about. That opened not the house of his prisoners. Now, this is not a literal prisoner, although there are literal prisoners, but a man is in prison through lack of understanding. Yahweh says, know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. But the devil does not allow the truth to be preached to the people. He keeps the truth hidden, and people are imprisoned through tradition, through teachings of false religion, and they have unfounded fears to disobey these religious heads. For instance, the Catholic Church, you weren't allowed to eat meat on Friday. You're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Otherwise, you're going to go to hell. And they had these unfounded fears because the devil originated these lies, and he held the people in bondage. And knowing the truth, you would be free from this, and this is referred to as the prison being opened. Now he says, all the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. This means that the kings of the earth, the rulers of this world, have had an honorable burial. The ignorant people of this world, who thought they were God's appointed rulers, did provide quite a ceremonial burial for these rulers, and they were buried in honor, even though they were not Yahweh's rulers. But concerning the devil, he says, thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Now the devil does not get an honorable burial. By the time he goes down, everyone will know who he is. His organization goes down first, and the people who remain are the enlightened ones, and the devil is going to die a disgraceful death, and never will anyone follow him again. Never will he regain this honor. He says, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, He will not be joined with his kings in burial, meaning that he will not get the same honor that his kings did, because it was the ignorant people who honored these kings. But when he goes down the last of his organization. People will be awakened by this time. Now the reason that he will not be joined with them in burial is because thou hast destroyed thy land, the land that Yahweh gave him authority over, the authority he gave him to rule over his people. He has destroyed it. Slain thy people, the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. He brought about a condition where men actually slaughtered one another. Instead of loving his people and trying to care for them, he doesn't care what happens to them. And all of these atrocities that you see in a war is the result of the devil's rule. Now this certainly is not a system that a person created in God's image can possibly endure or be happy in, thrive in. It goes contrary to the way we're made, and we could never rightfully be satisfied. Now we're not saying this because we are complainers. Yahweh is also complaining even louder than we are, because the system is altogether unrighteous. And to prove it, Yahweh says that it comes to an end. He will destroy this world. And now he says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. Now the children that are going to be killed are the ones who naturally have followed their fathers, or the ones who have been in this world, and meaning that fathers and children will all be destroyed, so that they will not be able to continue in authority. They will not be able to raise up children and continue in authority in this world. He says, wickedness shall not rise up a second time. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant and the son and nephew, saith the Lord. Now Yahweh rises up against this Babylon, which is the devil's organization, which word Babylon means confusion. And he's going to cut off the name, meaning that it will never be named, it will never be mentioned. The reason it won't be mentioned is because it will not be around to be mentioned. The remnant, any remains of Babylon, will be cut off. The son, the nephew, anything that's even closely associated or related to Babylon will be destroyed, so that there'll be no possibility of Babylon ever coming up again. I will also make it a possession for the bitter and pools of water, and I will sweep it with a besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. Now, in making it a possession for the bitter and making it pools of water, he's likening the system to a place which is uninhabitable for man, meaning that man will never dwell in there anymore, meaning that it will never be restored again. We will never live in this unrighteous system again. So making it a possession for the bitter and pools of water means that the semi-aquatic birds, or birds who are not birds who live in a different environment, you might say, who require a different habitation, will possess it, indicating that it is not made, nor ever was made, for man. When these other creatures take over, he's telling you in plain language that it was made for them. But what he's really bringing out is that if it was made for them, it was never made for us. These creatures will feel at home there, indicating that the system is what he's referring to, was never made for man. Sweep it with a besom or with a broom of destruction means that he will sweep it all away once and for all, destroy it completely. The Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand. In other words, what he set out to do, he will do. He says, the words which come out of my mouth shall not return unto me void, but they shall accomplish that which I send them to accomplish. All right, are there any questions on the study? Yes? Question none. All right, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those thrust through with a sword. Okay, I'll read this in the Revised Version, see if we possibly can clarify that for you. For you are cast out away from your sepulchre like a loathed, untimely birth, clothed with the slain, those pierced by the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit, like a dead body trodden underfoot. In other words, he will not even be buried. He'll be thrown outside like one who has just been slain or murdered like a criminal, and people will not even
give him a burial. Begin Malachi 1.
The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Now he's speaking to Israel. Love is unselfishness expressed. He has poured out blessings on Israel, although Israel did not appreciate, did not understand, and they question it. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? In other words, what evidence do you have that you really loved us? Show us how you loved us. Showing you there was no spirit, there was no understanding. Yahweh had truly blessed Israel above all other nations, so that the fear of Israel was felt throughout all the heathen nations that ever made contact with Israel. They had much evidence that Yahweh truly loved Israel, that they were really blessed, but they failed to recognize this. Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau. Now he stated this even before they were born. I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, indicating that there was a definite difference in the characteristics of the two men. Esau was born first. Esau had the birthright. He had the responsibility of seeing that the family followed the ways of Yahweh, and that he would lead the family in godliness. He had the first opportunity, the first blessing. Yahweh knew his heart condition before he was even born. He knew what he would do. He sold his birthright for a bowl of lentil soup. He also knew that Jacob would strive for his blessing. So before they were even born, he says, I hated Esau. And he says, was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob and I hated Esau. All right, now, this means that those who had the characteristic of Jacob, those who put Yahweh's purpose first, would truly be loved. As Yahweh knows the hearts of all individuals, as he knew the hearts of Jacob and Esau, he knows the hearts of his people, and he loves his people. Yet, being a just God, he gives all the same opportunity. He creates them all the same as free moral agents, so that they themselves make a choice. So that if there is anything that goes awry, if there's anything that goes wrong with an individual, it's not Yahweh, it's himself. Yahweh gives them all the same opportunity. So he says, I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Okay, now this literally happened. This was destroyed. And yet, Esau pictures a class of people who have had the first and foremost opportunity to serve Yahweh, just as Esau had the birthright, he was born first, yet they are unappreciative. Now Edom is complaining. There comes a time when this class of people does begin to complain. Yet they say they're going to be blessed again. But naturally they're not going to be blessed by Yahweh's blessing. They're going to be blessed by what they think will be the result of their own efforts. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. In other words, we're going to come back. Now this actually pictures the Catholic hierarchy, the head or the seat of hypocritical satanic religion, given the name Christian, in the devil's organization, who has taken a back seat. But they says, we will return and rebuild and build the desolate places. Well, the desolate places are the places that have been abandoned. This pictures every place that the church has lost out in her position of authority that she once held sway over. Rebuilding it again means that she will actually gain back this authority. And Yahweh says, you will rebuild. Yes, you certainly will. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the Lord against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. Okay, they're going to build. Now that's a prophecy. They're going to restore. But Yahweh is going to throw them down, and they will be known forever as the people that Yahweh has indignation forever, indicating that, as we spoke about Babylon, that it would never rise up again. It will be a haunt of jackals and satyrs and hoot owls. In other words, all the unclean and filthy creatures would inhabit it, indicating that Yahweh's people would never live in this organization again. And your eyes shall see, and ye shall say, the Lord will be magnified from the border of Israel. I'm going to read this in the Revised Version. Your own eyes shall see this, and you shall say, great is the Lord beyond the border of Israel. In other words, when Edom goes down, this is pictured by the organization of the devil that opposed Israel. This expression can truly be understood. Great is the Lord beyond the border of Israel. In other words, Israel is blessed by Yahweh. He is an honor to Israel within the borders of Israel. But that is not enough. Although Israel will be isolated and be blessed, yet the wicked who live outside of Israel, when they are destroyed, we find that Yahweh is great beyond the border of Israel. So in other words, his name is vindicated by the destruction of the wicked. His name is glorified with Israel, but while the enemy is still here, the job is not complete. Israel is blessed, but then the wicked are destroyed, and Yahweh is great beyond the borders of Israel. In other words, his blessings extends outside of Israel's border by destroying the wicked outside nations that have opposed Israel. So he gains fame in everything that he does, by blessing Israel and by destroying the wicked. A son honoreth his father, and a servant his master. If then I be a father, where is mine honor? And if I be a master, where is my fear, saith the Lord of hosts? Unto you, O priests, that despise my name, and ye say, wherein have we despised thy name? Right now, a father, or a son honors a father, a servant honors his master. Yet Yahweh says, where is my honor? Yahweh doesn't get the honor that an ordinary earthly man does. He doesn't get the fear that an ordinary master or a boss gets. He's actually, in this world, ignored by most people. Now he's speaking to the priests or those who actually have claim to have the authority and that are leading the people in the way of godliness. He says, "O priests that despise my name." Now the reason they despise his name is because they don't take his will into consideration. They do their own thing. They go on their own way. And in so doing, they despise the directions of the living God. This is the case with anyone who goes his own way. Wasn't that on? So the question is asked, and ye say, "Wherein have we despised thy name?" In other words, they fail to realize where they have despised his name in any way. Naturally, they haven't looked into the matter enough to realize whether they really have despised his name, whether they've done his will. They don't care. If they really looked into the matter, they would see where they have gone astray. But they don't. So they don't see anything wrong, and they don't see anything right. They're just doing as they please, whatever benefits them. All right, now ye offer polluted bread upon mine altar, and ye say, "Wherein have we polluted thee?" All right, now in the Revised Version, "By offering polluted food upon my altar," and you say, "How have we polluted it?" Okay, now something polluted is impure. What Yahweh is referring to here is the service of Yahweh, which must be pure. Yahweh is almighty. Yahweh is all-wise. Yahweh is holy. Yahweh is right. Anyone in opposition to Yahweh is wrong. Anything that has to do with any foreign doctrine that is contrary to the will of Yahweh is polluted. It's filthy. So we find that religion does this very thing. It conducts itself in a manner that does not honor Yahweh, that does not take him into consideration. It does the will of the nations, the will of the politicians, the will of the leaders of this world in order to please them and not consider the pleasure of Yahweh. All right, now, again, "Wherein have we polluted thee? In that ye say the table of the Lord is contemptible." Okay. Now he says, how have we polluted it? By thinking that the Lord's table is despised. And I'll read in good speed. Where am I here? Oh. Now, you bring upon my altar polluted food, then you say, how have we polluted it? In that you say the table of the Lord is contemptible. Okay, now, what he's referring to here, being contemptible, is something that is held in contempt. Now, the table of the Lord is where the spiritual food exists. Now, many despise the spiritual food. Many hold it in contempt. The reason they do so is because they realize that if they eat from this table, then they begin to have repercussions from the outside world. People are ashamed to be one of Yahweh's servants. They say, what will the neighbors think? What will people think? What will the law think? Yahweh's table is held in contempt. And by putting this fear first, they do treat it with contempt as though it's something to be ashamed of. Now this is a horrible disgrace to Yahweh, to think that the holy, all-wise Creator, Yahweh, who will bless the entire human race, who is a God of love and justice, is held in contempt. Actually, what should be held in contempt is the world, who is actually holding Yahweh in contempt. We should turn the tables and hold in contempt those who hold Yahweh in contempt. And this Israel does. We have contempt for this world. World, for all the ruling organizations of this world which go contrary to Yahweh. But the sad state of affairs is that people are ashamed to take on to the truth because of what it will produce, the result of it, the way it will affect their friends and their neighbors and their families. And you see, we are reproached. We are looked down upon. But it's a horrible thing for Yahweh's creatures, for the entire human race, to look down upon their Creator. Yahweh is suffering the same reproach in much greater magnitude than we are. All of his creatures have turned their back on him. And it's only Israel that has the fortitude, the strength, the desire to do what is right, to clear the message, to clear the slate clean and make the people understand who is actually right. And that Yahweh's table is not contemptible, but they are contemptible. And we must speak with force and lay the record straight. You are the most contemptible creatures on the face of the earth because you have ignored the living God, Yahweh, who is a holy God, a just God, a righteous God. So the argument goes on. They say you're a lawbreaker. You don't keep the laws. We do not keep the corrupt laws. We keep Yahweh's just laws. He alone knows the hearts of men, and he selects those whom he will put in charge over his people. Because Yahweh is responsible for his people, and he's not just going to put anybody there. Now he says in verse 8, and if ye offer the blind for sacrifice, is it not evil? And if ye offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Now in the time of Israel, the worship of Yahweh was performed by sacrifice and offering. So those who truly loved Yahweh would get the best of the flock. The best is none too good for their God. And they would see the best lamb, the best goat, select that and offer it to Yahweh. This pictures that a person whose heart is right offers the best that he has to offer. This offering, sacrifice and oblation, sacrifice and offering, pictured lip service to Yahweh. The Israel of the flesh was only a type. The type of offering that they offered then was only a type for the Israel of promise, which is a lip service, which is the vindication of Yahweh's name by making the record straight, setting the record straight. In offering the best that you can offer, it means that you search yourself and find, how can I best offer my God? How can I best serve him? What am I doing where I can improve myself? Am I letting anything go? Am I afraid to face people? Am I ashamed to stand on the boardwalk or something and show people that I am one of Yahweh's servants and that truly I have understanding and that the world is in darkness? Am I afraid to bring up the subject? Am I afraid to take my stand against wickedness, against corruption? Now, those who offered the blind and the lame, these were worthless offerings. You might say worthless, all right, they were worth a little bit, but it was not the best that they could offer. they took anything, any common thing from the flock. This pictures the class of people who just does not examine themselves completely and thoroughly and saying, am I doing the best? And they just offer a mediocre service. This mediocre service is not pleasing to Yahweh, and all of Israel will give all that they got if they're going to be Israel. And if you let it slide, you will not be Israel, because Yahweh is the one who is judging and will make the selection. There is nothing too good for Yahweh, the Almighty God, who has been here from everlasting to everlasting, who has created this entire universe. And you would not be here at all if it wasn't for him. He is everything. And those who in times past offered the best of the flock pictured the true Israel of today, who will give all that they have, even death if it's necessary. The main thing is to honor Yahweh. They can't destroy you. They can kill you. But it'll be an honor to Yahweh to go down for him. He will bring you back. So don't even think of those things. Think of how you're going to fight, not what's going to happen to you. He does tell you plainly that he will not have anything happen to you which is more than you can bear. This is absolutely the truth. No one is going to die if they can't stand it. He knows what you can stand. He's not going to have you crack up. No. There are those who have the strength. He says, some of you they shall kill. Now, we don't know whether there's some of this actually earthly Israel shall be killed. It's not very clear, but we know some of the heavenly class were killed. That's for sure. But don't stop and think that how much am I going to have to pay? What am I going to have to give up? What are they going to do to me? No. The battle is now engaged. The battle has started. And if you fight halfway, you're going to get killed. What I mean, you're going to lose. You've got to fight with all you got. A true soldier fights the best that he can, and only by fighting the best can he survive. If he only takes halfway measures, he's going to be beaten. And we are in Yahweh's army. The battle is a spiritual battle. And in order to honor Yahweh and receive his blessing, we must put everything, we must put him first. Remember that. We must put him first. Arrange your lives so that you can serve him. And do not allow anything to stop Yahweh's service. Now Yahweh says, offer it now unto thy governor. Will he be pleased with thee? Or accept thy person, saith the Lord of hosts? In other words, this kind of service, if you give it to your governor, would he be pleased? Or if you do this kind of service to your worldly boss, is he going to be pleased? Halfway measure? Your boss wants your full devotion. He wants you to do the best you can. Otherwise you get fired. How much more so should we give our best to our God? Our worldly boss is only a selfish man who's trying to make profit. Yahweh is a God of love. You're not giving him anything. But his name must be vindicated. Yahweh has reproached it. Many people have cast reproach on Yahweh's name, and it must be cleared. And those who clear his name will be blessed forever. Those who turn many to righteousness shall shine as the stars forever and ever, indicating that they will be outstanding ones. And this is Israel, 200 million of them. And now I pray you, beseech God that he will be gracious unto us. Thus, this hath been by your means. Will he regard your persons, saith the Lord of hosts? I'm going to read this in good speed. Bible, they got the numbers so small I can't even see them. When you present that to your governors, yeah, all right now. And now entreat the favor of God that he may be gracious to us. With such a gift from your hand, will he show favor to any of you? Okay, now this is a class of people who just serves you. They're not considering you. They're not considered at all in Yahweh's service. In other words, they've done good enough for him. But then they pray for blessings, too. Bless us, O Lord. Yes, bless us. We need more money. We need more this. We need more that. They want his favor. But what are they doing for him? They want all his blessings, but they're only given a small portion of theirs. Just a fraction. In other words, they're giving enough so that their life is not interfered with. They can go on and live their lives the way they want to. And if they got a little time left over, they may do something. Now, Yahweh is not going to consider these kinds of prayers at all. Now, in 10, oh, that there were one among you who would shut the doors, that you might not kindle fire upon mine altar in vain. Okay, in good speed, oh, that there were one among you that you would close the doors, that you might not kindle fire on my altar in vain. In other words, Yahweh doesn't want it at all. If you're not going to do your best, don't do it at all. He would wish that the door was closed, so that they could not come to the altar and bring the blind and the lame, and bring just a partial offering. I now remember that these offerings pictured service to Yahweh, and it's fulfilled in the Israel of promise, the true Israel, the Israel that is being gathered today. For from the rising of the sun even unto the going down of the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. And in every place incense shall be offered unto my name, and a pure offering, for my name shall be great among the heathen, saith the Lord of hosts. Now this is a little prophecy that Yahweh throws in. Even though you don't do it, the Gentiles and the heathen are going to do it. His name is going to be great. He knows it's going to be. But the sad fact is that so many are going to be left out. Is it his fault? No. The same message is given to all. Some respond, some are too busy. Israel is never too busy to serve Yahweh. So he tells them, even among the Gentiles and the heathen, he shall be great. But ye have profaned it, in that ye say the table of the Lord is polluted, and the fruit thereof, even his meat is contemptible. All right, good speed. I'm going to read it at a good speed. But you are defiling it, in that you say the table of the Lord is defiled, and his food its product is despicable. All right, now it's a repetition. I will be great among the Gentiles and among the heathen, indicating that there will be a class of people that were not the Israel of the flesh, from all nationalities, which will truly honor him. But you are ashamed to eat of my table. Now this is not only the Israel of old. This is primarily today. You have so many religious people. They rejoice, they appear to rejoice in serving the Lord Jesus Christ, but then if they have to really take a stand and lose their friends and come in conflict with the law, oh no, nothing doing. Nothing doing. As long as everything goes smoothly, as long as they're accepted by the people, by the nations, by the politicians, by the big businessmen, as long as they're patted on the back by the world, they will go on practicing their religion. But the truth is too much for them. Far too much. And this group has seen a lot of that. An awful lot of that. We've seen ordinary people who knew nothing. We've seen religionists understand and leave. We've seen everything. When the pressure is applied, when the truth really sinks in, that it's not as pleasant as they thought. the book is sweet in the mouth and bitter in the stomach. Okay, in the beginning it's very, very nice. It sounds very good. But they didn't know they'd have to have any opposition. My goodness, we thought everything was going to be rosy all the way through, the way it sounded. Beautiful kingdom, paradise, everybody happy. Sounds good. Go talk to somebody and call you a nut or leave you. Well, how did you get that way? What happened to you? Going out of your mind? This is the result. Well, when you get a few of these, you say, well, I'm going to give up. Well, that's the way those who have nothing in them. This is what happens. So Yahweh weeds out all these, and what is left is the real Israel of Yahweh. Now, Yahweh is not unjust when he does that. They do it themselves. Ye said also, behold, what a weariness is it. And ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts. And ye brought that which was torn, and the lame, and the sick. Thus we brought an offering, ye brought an offering. Should I accept this at your hand, saith the Lord? Okay? And you say, what a weariness it is. And you sniff at it, says the Lord of hosts. In other words, it's something that makes you sick and tired. It's not interesting. It irritates me. It makes me weary. There's no fun in it, serving Yahweh. Well, this is certainly not the true Israel of Yahweh, because the true Israel of Yahweh, this is their life, this is their joy, this is all they talk about, this is all they live for. To see that the purpose of the Almighty God is accomplished on earth and that His name is vindicated. And they hate this rotten system of the devil, and the sooner it goes down, the better. So they don't mix their love and their devotion between the world and Yahweh. It can't be mixed. You can't serve two masters. You will love one and hate the other, or serve one and despise the other. So it's got to be singleness of heart, singleness of purpose. And Yahweh is right. And don't be afraid to throw your whole body and mind on His side. So they bring the lame and the sick. Should I accept this? Am I going to accept